new season, and we have to look at where everybody's fitting in. You've seen Noel Reid as a 12. Is that a fill-in or something we'll be looking at through the season? And Ian Madigan at 10. And you also have a utility back whose name.
Andrew Goodman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just give us the quick initial thinking on how all that's slotting in?
Yeah, initially we think that all three are versatile, and we think that all three can play 10 and other positions. I think Ian Madigan can play at fullback. He has done last season for us, and certainly at 10. Obviously, we have limitations around how many times we can utilise John Sexton in that role, and Ian Madigan was involved in 30-odd games last year, so we've also got to balance that with his workload. That's why Andrew Goodman and Noel Reid will be able to kind of share the workload there a little bit. At the same time, at 12, we've got Gordon Darcy, Brian O'Driscoll and Fergus McFadden, who all play in that position, and therefore we need cover in and around the 12 spot as well. So those three can deputise at 10 or 12, and I challenge them to step up and try to take those spots.
In order that we don't start off with a row before we start, we say that that's a small, slight nod for Ian, or a small vote of confidence. First game out, you get the 10 and let everybody come at you. So
I think that's a fair comment, Derek. I think Ian earned the opportunity to have first crack at the jersey based on his performances last year. He wasn't just pretty consistent for us; he was very durable as well. For a young man who invariably gets involved in a bit of contact work during a game, he bounced back week to week really well.
Joe, what's your impression of the condition of the guys that went through that really long season, 51 weeks or whatever it was? How are they? I mean, you're obviously managing them well, but
yeah, they're on a totally separate program at the moment. They're doing a full pre-season. They obviously you won't see them in any of the pre-season games or early season games, but you mentioned a 51-week season, but they actually had good breaks in between times. You know, they had the 2 weeks off at Christmas. They had various breaks during the season. They had a full 4-week break after the World Cup, or some of them had between 2 and 4 weeks. So, I'm not sure it's exactly a 51-week season, and certainly if you spoke to them, there's a fair bit of energy amongst that group, and I think they've come back pretty fresh.
Mentally as well?
Yeah, I think they're in really good form.
Joe, can you talk a bit about Tom Denton and the positioning of Ben Marshall at 6?
Yeah, Ben we see as a guy who can cover kind of 6, second row, and maybe 8 for us as well, because we have to have that versatility amongst our back row, particularly with the injuries to Rhys Ruddock and Sean O'Brien. Does leave us quite short in the back row. And so Ben's a guy who unfortunately we thought would come on a little bit last year, got injured and didn't get that opportunity to progress, so we're hoping that we see a bit more of Ben this year. Tom Denton, he's fitted into the group really well. I think it would be fair to say that he's quickly assimilated himself in with the group, and he has a pretty good balance about him. He's pretty good in the air. He's got good agility, both on his feet and in the air. And it just remains to be seen how he goes in the match day situation, I suppose, and we can kind of get that as a baseline and progress from there.
Joe, outside of the international core group of younger players and other established players that you've worked with now for 2 years, this season, will they be more likely, or will they have more trust or more faith that they can challenge for the positions of the internationals? I mean, because it always seems that the internationals, obviously, because of their calibre, they slot back in. But realistically, now you've had 2 years looking at some of the younger guys in particular, will they have a chance to step up?
I think on the evidence of last year, some of the younger guys did get opportunity. I suppose Dave Carney is a good example. Unfortunately, Dave's going to miss the early part of the season with injury, but he's a good example. Ian Madigan's a good example. They both had Heineken Cup starts. I thought Ian acquitted himself well in the Montpellier game, Dave Carney in the away Glasgow game, those sorts of guys. Jamie started against Montpellier as well. So there are opportunities, and the more those opportunities come up, the more opportunity there is for the player to grab them. But it's a tough contest, and that's that's a luxury and a headache, but it's a really good headache to have.
And just on Dave Carney's injury, and I think Reece Ruddock had surgery as well. So some of those guys, can you update us?
Yeah, they're both progressing at the moment. Dave Carney's got some further tidy up stuff to finish off, and then he will start his full rehabilitation. But Reece is in, and he started that rehabilitation, and so those guys, I would think probably November before we see them on the field. Unfortunately,
So give younger players an opportunity, and the Under-20 World Cup, Ireland were able to match and maybe outplay the Springboks, and they had a few Super 15 forwards or in their squad. So do you see any of those forwards making a quick movement through the ranks?
Yeah, I think with those guys, because they're a little bit like the internationals, they've come back a little bit later because they finished later. They had a break that went into the start of our pre-season, so we're trying to look after them as best we can. The likes of Tyke Furlong, who played a lot in that tournament and had a shoulder reconstruction last year, those sort of guys we're very, very keen to look after and progress, particularly when we're really pretty well resourced with Jamie and Marty Moore on the tight head side, in the absence of Mike Ross, who those two guys will be looking to create a real challenge for that spot. So it gives us an opportunity to develop Tyke through this season and take our time to do so. Guys like Con Gilson unfortunately broke his ankle on that at that World Cup, so he will take some time. Jordan Coughlin, Jordan looks like a really balanced, good athlete. We were pretty disappointed that Jordan couldn't play in our cricket team earlier on the season. He looked pretty quick and menacing, particularly if you're at the other end of the 22 yards. But he looks like a good athlete. So there will certainly be opportunities for those guys during the season, but there's also windows that we'll be looking to put them in and really get the physical development that will stand by them to give them the durability once they do get used to stand up maybe week to week if that's a requirement.
When do you expect Sean O'Brien, Luke Fitzgerald and Owen O'Malley back on the pitch?
I'm hopeful that Owen might be back late October, early November. And again, to be honest, these are difficult to forecast, and they're even difficult for our rehab guys to forecast because they've got to hit a number of targets, and we've got to get feedback from specialists to make sure that those guys are fully adept to train fully before they can even return to the pitch. So Owen O'Malley would be hopeful maybe the end of October, early November. Luke Fitzgerald, the end of the year, late December, early January. But again, it's a little bit of an unknown. It could be a bit later than that. And Sean O'Brien, we'd be hoping for a November sometime return to the pitch. But again, he's got a small bit of surgery left just to finish off, and so we haven't really got a great read on Sean yet. He's had some surgery and requires a little bit more. So.
Just the Irish captain Brian Driscoll, is he in any particular better state than last year or this year, or is he training normally?
Yeah, well, he's in a lot better shape than he was this time last year because he wasn't available to us. He's not in great shape right at the moment because I've just thrashed them all on the field really, so they're in pieces. It was a nice hot day, and so they've kind of melted into the training track. But he was fully equipped to do the whole session, so that would speak. Or that would give some sort of indication that he's in pretty good condition.
Have you spoken to him in terms of a particular thing that Leinster talks about, Brian talks about goals in this season? Brian will be aiming at a Lions tour, and from what you've seen so far, you're looking at our captains fit and well and ready to go.
Well, Brian's not our captain, but he is really important part of our leadership group. So the fact that he is fit and ready to go, again, goals. We probably don't speak specifically about goals beyond Leinster. We're more focused on his goal this week is to get this many high-speed meters and run this volume of running to lift this amount of weight, and we tick that off and we go to the next week at the moment. So through the pre-season, it's week-to-week survival. I'm sure that every player has some target in mind, and I guess it just depends how they start the season and then continue, and other people make those decisions. So we try to keep focused on the things that we make the decisions on and we control the performance of.
Are all the players in? Joe's Quinn Roux here?
Quinn Roux is here. He arrived yesterday morning. He looks in reasonably good shape, although again he got melted a little bit today. First day off the plane, so he worked pretty hard, and he's come in really positively. He was unfortunately had a slight injury and missed the Super Rugby semi-final, but he's pretty much fully fit now, and he'll start really training with us on Monday.